So Apple had an event earlier this week where they released a new Apple Watch, new AirPods, and new iPhones. Let me dive into what really stood out and give you my initial reactions. I'll go in the order Apple announced the products. They started with the release of the Apple Watch Series 10. And if you were expecting a huge redesign, you might be a little disappointed because it looks almost exactly the same like every other Apple Watch that we've had. No square design, no new way to attach your bands. However, the Series 10 is 10% thinner and 10% lighter, which is great. The display is also slightly larger, and the Series 10 now comes with a ultra-wide OLED display. Apple claims that this display is 40% brighter from an angle, which is ideal for a smartwatch. Inside, the Apple Watch Series 10 is powered by an all-new S10 chip, which has a 4-core neural engine. Thanks to this, the Translate app will now be available on the Apple Watch. There are a few new colors, and titanium now replaces the stainless steel, which is a lighter alternative. Charging also has improved. You can now charge up to 80% in just 30 minutes, which is great if you're the type of person that tracks your sleep with your Apple Watch. Speaking of sleep, Apple introduced sleep apnea detection, which is coming later this year, pending an FDA approval. According to Apple, about 80% of people with sleep apnea don't know they have it, so this could be a game changer. There's also a new Tides app that informs you of high and low tides, plus there's a new depth sensor and a water temperature sensor, perfect for activities like surfing. And finally, you can now play media like music and podcasts directly on your watch. That pretty much wraps it up for the Apple Watch Series 10. And this is where things started to get a bit confusing. Apple introduced a new Apple Watch Ultra 2. And by new, I mean they added a new color and a band. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 now comes in that satin black that had been rumored for quite some time now. They also introduced a titanium Milanese loop, available in both the natural titanium and the black titanium colors. Aside from the color and the band, nothing else changed. The Ultra 2 still has the S9 SIP from last year, and no new features other than the ones that will come out with watchOS 11. That being said, it looks absolutely stunning. Logically, it wouldn't make sense to upgrade, if you can even call it that, unless you're absolutely in love with the new color. Personally, if I had the funds, I'd be pre-ordering that Satin Black Ultra 2 without hesitation. Next up, Apple introduced the new generation of AirPods 4s. And there's actually two versions. For $129, you get the new shape and redesign, and for $179, you get the same AirPods but with active noise cancellation and a wireless charging case that has a tiny speaker built in for Find My. The new shape might fit a little bit better for some people, improving comfort and security in the ear. Both versions come with the H2 chip, which helps improve sound quality and offers richer bass. Personalized spatial audio and voice isolation are also available for both models. The higher-end AirPods 4 come with additional features, including active noise cancellation, transparency mode, adaptive audio, and conversational awareness. They also include a wireless charging case that can be charged with either an Apple Watch wireless charger or a regular wireless charger. Next up is another odd upgrade. And this one is even more baffling than the Ultra 2 update earlier. Apple released an updated version of the AirPods Max, but the only change is the switch to USB-C port. While these headphones were amazing when they launched in 2020 for $550, they are still priced at $550 in 2024, yet with no meaningful internal updates. The real issue? The AirPods Max still have the H1 chip inside, not the H2, found in the rest of the AirPod lineup. This means that even the new $129 AirPods 4 have features that the supposed top-of-the-line $550 AirPod Max don't, simply because they're missing the updated chip. Someone please make it make sense. Next, we got some interesting updates for the AirPods Pro 2. They have now been certified as a clinical grade hearing aid, which is a pretty big deal. On top of that, they'll also offer hearing protection and a built-in hearing test feature later this year. According to Apple, over 80% of people haven't had their hearing tested in the last 5 years. The good news is that the test will only take about 5 minutes and will be available in over 100 countries. This could be huge considering that it's something people already own versus needing to go to a formal test. It makes it more likely that people will actually check their hearing. Bit by bit, Apple is diving deeper into the medical field. Next up, Apple announced the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. We all knew it was coming, and while many expected a minor incremental update, I believe there's more to this. And when someone asked for my thoughts and I shared them, they simply replied, "You're such an Apple fanboy." But hear me out, and this is just my opinion, of course. I genuinely believe that the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus are a much better upgrade compared to last year's 15 and 15 Plus models. And even the previous generations, like the iPhone 13s and 14 models. In those previous models, Apple had been recycling chips from prior years. For instance, both the iPhone 13 and the 14 had the A15 chip, and then the iPhone 15 models featured the A16 chip, which was the previous year's Pro model chip. But with the 16, Apple introduced a brand new A18 chip, which is said to be 30% faster than the A16 Bionic. Pair that with the new display that can now go down to just 1 nit of minimal brightness, a new camera setup that supports micro photography and spatial photos and videos, the latest generation of photographic styles, a neural engine that is twice as fast, and 8 gigs of RAM for all that Apple Intelligent features. Plus, there's better battery life. I'd say that's a pretty significant upgrade. It's also a much better value than last year's base models. The iPhone 16 base model also gets 2 new buttons. First, it gets the action button from last year's Pro model, allowing you to customize shortcuts like turning your flashlight on or opening the Translate app. Then there's the all-new camera control button, which is a kind of touch-sensitive trackpad with haptic feedback. This button has multiple functions. It's not just a regular button, it offers a half-press functionality to bring different options, and it's capacitive sensitive, so you can swipe to do gestures, you can click to open the camera, you can bring up visual intelligence, you can click to take a photo, you can click and hold to record a video, or you can slide to zoom in and out. A light tap will bring up options, and a double tap will bring up another set of options. Plus, third-party apps like Snapchat and Instagram will also have access to this button. I'm really curious to see if this button will actually be useful, or if people will activate it by accident more often than not. I'm also surprised that the camera control button isn't exclusive to the Pro models, a little uncharacteristic of Apple. That pretty much sums it up for the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. I'd say the base model is probably the best value and a smart choice for most people over the Pro models. Now let's dive into the details of the Pro iPhones. First off, there's a new color, Desert Titanium. The shades of the black and the white have also changed some, but the big news of this year is that both Pro models now feature a larger screen, 6.3 inches for the Pro model and 6.9 inches for the Pro Max. Both models come with the all-new A18 Pro chip, which should be about 20 to 30% faster. This chip is also more power efficient, which translates to better battery life. Apple is claiming that the Pro Max now has the best battery life of any iPhone. Both Pro models get 3 new cameras, starting with a 48 megapixel main camera that Apple is calling a Fusion camera. There's also a new 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera, which is a significant upgrade from the 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera in last year's models. Additionally, both Pro models now come with the 5x telephoto camera that was exclusive to the Pro Max last year. You can now record 4K videos at 120 frames per second, slow motion, straight out of the cameras, which is pretty cool. Both models are equipped with 4 microphones to better capture audio, and Apple spent a good portion of the keynote demonstrating the impressive capabilities of this 4 mic setup. Lastly, both Pro models feature improved wireless charging, promising 50% charge in just 30 minutes. While it's not as fast as some of the other phones on the market, it's definitely an improvement. So Apple also talked about Apple Intelligence and all the possibilities that it will bring to both iPhone models this year. However, it won't be available when the phones first release. In fact, the first part of Apple Intelligence likely won't be released until iOS 18.1, which is rumored to drop sometime in late October and / early November. I was tempted to include more details about Apple Intelligence in this video, but since it's not releasing right away, I think I'll save it for a completely separate video. It's becoming more of a trend for Apple to announce a bunch of new features, but slowly roll them out over the course of the year, rather than all at once. For me, this can be a bit frustrating because you start getting excited about how these new features could impact your daily life, only to realize that you have to wait months to actually use the ones that you really want. In any case, that wraps it up for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please consider subscribing and stay tuned for more videos.